Co-host of Pod Save America and Pod Save the World, Tommy Vitor. Tommy, thanks for joining me.
Good to see you.
So we have some very surprising footage here from one of the top Republican incumbents who's running for re-election this upcoming cycle. You haven't seen this footage yet.
I don't know what we're talking about.
Let's throw to the clip. So I love how he steps in and instead just quells the booing and incites chants of shame. She's like, go back to the booing, go back to the booing.
I love a good shame.
Yeah.
It's like Game of Thrones. We had the classic shame.
Oh, yeah.
The bell, maybe.
I'm curious what you think of here because, look, we can see this stuff, and it's obviously promising because this is one of our few offensive opportunities, the other being, Iowa, which just had a great result in a special election yesterday. And, of course, there are a few other states that we could look to. North Carolina, and, maybe even in some, depending on how the environment looks, Texas.
Yep.
But Susan Collins has been able to weather quite a few storms. And even in other election cycles where Democrats were heavily favored, I believe it was 2018 where Sarah Gideon ran against Susan Collins. Is that correct?
Yeah, a lot of money.
All the polling showed that Sarah Gideon was going to beat her by like 10 points. And, of course, she came out of it. And so how are you thinking about a moment like this where we're starting to see a real big uprising against Susan Collins, but also keeping in mind kind of the historical trends of Maine?
Yeah, look, Susan Collins, she has surprised us over and over again with both how naive she can sound in the face of Donald Trump's authoritarian tendencies, but also the fact that she just keeps winning. And so it's good to see a bunch of super energized, pissed off Democrats showing up at her events. I think this will probably influence her thinking. It'll make her nervous about going out in public and doing events and doing town halls. Not that I want her scared, but I want her to worry politically about having a terrible news cycle like that. So that gives me some hope. That makes me a little more excited. I don't know. How are you feeling? We got a good candidate.
We have a good candidate. There are actually a couple of candidates. Yes. I just did interview Graham Plattner, who is this guy is the real deal. He's an oysterman. This is not somebody who was created in the usual Democratic lab of consultants and operatives put together this person that just looks like they were born to run, on the Democratic ticket and just spout out a bunch of platitudes. But this guy is the real deal, economic populist. He is works with Trump supporters. He's doing
military veteran.
He told me he's the highest office I ever thought I would have was harbor master in my hometown.
It's a good office.
So and he's a great speaker and he's
voice.
A real great voice. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't even come close.
Yeah, it was cool. I was like, ooh, voice for radio. Look at this guy. Right. That announcement video.
Yeah. So there, that part I actually feel really good about. Now we'll just see what the composition of the electorate looks like in Maine. Again, we've been here before. Right now, the national environment looks very much like it did in 2017, where we're seeing overperformances by Democrats at about 10, 11, 12 points from where they were, in the norm. So if we see something similar to what we saw in 2018, in 2026, that could mean we take the House by 40 seats. I mean, we took 41 seats in 2018, but these seats are going to be especially important. Being able to flip these Senate seats and actually have the opportunity to win back the Senate in what is, by the way, a pretty dismal Senate map will be really important.
Really, really, really important. Yeah, I mean, there's a few factors at play that I think about. One, Trump's approval is in a very bad place right now. He is extremely unpopular. Hopefully he will continue to get more unpopular. That is good for Democrats. But if you look at polling about the Democratic Party brand, we're not doing great. So that's why it's exciting to see someone like Graham Plattner come in and run, who doesn't look like a traditional Democrat, doesn't sound like one, doesn't have, as you said, the traditional resume. He's not like a lawyer or like a rich guy. No, he's like a oyster farmer or fisherman,
And I think that's important because a lot of people are having these meta conversations about how to fix the Democratic Party's brand. But the party is its people.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so the way to fix it is not to just do things, is not to like make these inauthentic moves and like I said this the other day, but now I'm going to start talking like this and I'll wear
No.
like a backwards hat.
Right, we're not going to tweak a couple dials over the DNC
Correct.
like room that controls the party. No, it is exactly what you said. It is the people who are running, the candidates who
Right.
represent us.
And so if we have people like Graham, like a lot of the candidates that we're seeing across the country run and win, that fixes the brand problem because the brand is a reflection of the people in the party.
Exactly.
To that point, I do want to talk about some news that came out of Axios. I believe it was Alex Thompson who reported that Democrats are considering doing a mid-cycle DNC. And so I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
So I read that story too. I read it almost immediately after I read another Axios story about a big intra-Democratic Party fight over Gaza at the DNC, the current DNC meeting, and it made me worry about
About the
our
prospect of having another mass gathering where
yeah.
Democrats decide not to acknowledge it at all.
Right, and look, you know where I am on all these questions of whether Democrats should be cutting off military assistance to Israel. Very much so, I support that. But my concern is more like if you get a bunch of Democrats together in a room, can we all agree upon a set of policies or at least messages to deliver? And so,
Yeah.
like, that's kind of table stakes for doing something like a mini convention in an off year like this. Now, Donald Trump blots out the sun. Every day he wakes up and he truth social something, or he has an event or a 4-hour cabinet meeting, and he dominates the news cycle like no one I've ever seen in my life, no one I've ever seen in politics. And so Democrats, we need to be creative and think of new ways to grab attention back, get our message out, showcase people and candidates within the party, and talk about what we are and what we stand for. Maybe this gives us that opportunity. So I don't want to like poo-poo new ideas or creative ideas, but I'm sort of two minds about it.
Yeah, I know that you and I have spoken about this on a video that we did for Pod Save America's YouTube channel. So if anybody who's watching this right now is not yet subscribed to Pod Save America's YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to put the link on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Great way to support independent media more broadly. But you and I were talking about this, and on one hand, it is good to have opportunities where if we have a mini DNC, then that means that at least for a few days, Democrats get to dictate the narrative. They get to drive the news cycle just because that's where all of the, like when you're handed a stage, it's hard not to garner attention as the result of it. But then there is some concern as well on the flip side of that is it does feel very top heavy, and it feels and the energy in the party right now is not at the top, it's at the bottom. It's at the grassroots level. And I think having an event where it feels like, it's literally the DNC. So having an event where things are dictated by, the folks at the top and the leadership at a time where there's a lot of distrust and disgust, aimed at those people, and a lot of hope aimed at the people who are in the grassroots and who are running for these offices right now. And I do hope that we see something of a Democratic Tea Party as we head toward 2026. Doing this right now feels a little bit like we're heaping attention onto the wrong folks.
Yes, it is quite top heavy. It will certainly be like kind of dictated by the top, right? Like who speaks, what the messages are, what the themes are. And it's also literally staged. This is an event on a stage with production and and it kind of like, I don't know, a bit of it harkens back to a bygone era when, conventions were all about giving something to the 3 networks and, getting all these people to watch.
Well, let me ask you, because we see a lot of these like Turning Point USA conferences and CPAC, and those still have legs. And so how do you differentiate those?
Well, yeah, look, I think that Turning Point USA and CPAC have been unbelievably effective because they are gathering places and organizational tools for organizations that are not the party. Like they are doing their own specific missions. Like CPAC was this inexorable pull of the Republican Party as far right as humanly possible until it's the craziest people, in the party who are now in charge in the White House. Success.
Yeah.
TPUSA, they were all about going to college campuses, making, trying to convert people to being a Republican or to make young conservatives feel like they were not alone or they could talk about, being a Republican and not be embarrassed at a time when Republicans weren't seen as cool. So I do think like both those organizations have been quite successful at their missions. Now, a part of it is these like big events, these gatherings. It sounds like the TPUSA ones are just debaucherous. There are some
so we've heard.
There's some stories.
Yeah.
Will Summer over at the Bulwark has some stories about what happens after hours at those events. But the organizing is the real key to them.
So let's finish off with one more story, and I think we have some video footage that I want to throw to here.
Oh! 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 Fucking gun! Fucking gun!
The slowest foot chase in living memory.
It makes me laugh every time I see it.
Well, the update here is that even in courtrooms where they say that prosecutors could even a grand jury would indict a ham sandwich, they weren't able to indict this guy at the hands of
Not a
Janine
foot
Pirro.
long.
So I'm curious what your reaction to this story more broadly is, given the fact that Trump really has a vested interest in trying to pick people out and make examples out of them. And of course, there's no better example if you're an aspiring autocrat than if somebody throws a sandwich at one of your goons to try and make an example out of him. Trump sent 20 police officers into this guy's apartment to arrest him. So curious your reaction to the fact that they weren't able to secure an indictment.
Yeah, it's hard to overstate how rare it is for a grand jury not to return an indictment like this. I think the stat is between some period of 2009 to 2010, there were about 190,000 cases, and only 11 of them the grand jury did not return an indictment. So
Yeah.
pretty rare. And the reason is because the process is totally rigged towards the prosecutors. They get to introduce all the information. The defendants don't have lawyers in there. So it's really tough. What it tells me is that the DC residents who are part of this grand jury are pissed. They are ripshit pissed at Donald Trump, at this military occupation of their city, and they said, "Fuck you! No,
Yeah.
I'm not. We're not going to do your bidding. We're not going to indict this person." You put Janine Pirro in charge. She's the U.S. attorney for Washington D.C. Do you know how insulting that is?
Yeah.
This drunk wine mom from Fox News. No, we're absolutely not returning an indictment for her. So I love it. It's a little quiet act of resistance.
That's it. One might even say he's a hero. Get it? It's a sandwich pun. With that said,
I wish I could do your cricket noise.
I'll do it for myself.
So good.
With that said, of course, again, for anybody who is not yet subscribed to Pod Save America's YouTube channel, I'm going to put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Help support independent media, help grow the Crooked Team's voices and their reach so that when people come on to YouTube, for example, they're not automatically sorted into right-wing content. So again, that link is on the screen and also in the post description. Tommy, appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.